What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, delarose.com, DELARROZ.com. We are into Conan Chronicles for the Epic Collections now. This is one I've been just putting off. I don't know why. I have all the volumes. I have all the Epic volumes. But I've been meaning to read this for a while. I read the Marvel Conan first, even though this has come out a long time ago. This is mostly by Kurt Busiek and Carrie Nord in terms of the creative team, but it's got a couple people kind of sprinkled in there also. And it starts out with like a free comic book day or issue 0, where it's this like group in the future, and you see these beautiful colors. The colors are done by this guy Dave Stewart, and I'm not familiar with him, but I want to become more familiar with him. Not the Dave Stewart that a lot of people know on this channel. He's a friend of mine who's a YouTuber. Different Dave Stewart, and not the Dave Stewart who's the former pitcher for the Oakland A's. But there's a colorist, Dave Stewart, and he's phenomenal. Oh my gosh, it makes this book just such a joy and a treat to read. It just is like eye candy all the way through. This is fantasy in its amazingness. But this takes place hundreds of years in the future, and they're finding these scrolls talking of old Conan adventures and who he is. And, you know, he says they're unreliable, but the king wants to hear it anyway and hear about this hero of the past. And so he says, okay, I'll tell you. And so he tells him, starting in the first issue here. And he starts out in this kingdom of Asgard, and this is Conan here with these, like, this horned helm, which we actually get a little description of the helm in the back. There's a filler, I'll get to it later with the filler issues, but the filler issues are actually the coolest filler issues I've ever seen in comics. And Conan's dealing with these Asgardians, and of course Conan just goes into town, trounces people, and the Asgardians need to go on a quest. And so Conan ends up coming with them as they go seek out their raids and treasures. Beautiful cover right there. I love Carrie Nord's art. I think it's very different. You got a very different style. You got kind of odd, like kind of squished faces in a way, but they look cool. Very nice for the fantasy feel. And Conan gets duped by this frost giant's daughter, as you can tell here. She's like a succubus type character, and gets follows back, and she's brought back to her people, and Conan slays them. We get back to camp, and we learn that people are betraying the folk here, and we get into a knockdown, drag out battle of that. I really can't say enough of just how beautiful this art is. I mean, I just want to stop on every page, but I can't because I'll never get through this review if I do that. And eventually they find this place called Hypoboria, which is like this old kingdom which Conan actually has been seeking. And there's legends about it, and I guess they're ancients who live forever until they feel like they don't, and then when they don't want to anymore, they actually fling themselves off cliffs like lemmings. And Conan and company become slaves there. There's this girl who works for them, and she gives Conan this leaf because they drug everybody to prevent the drugging. And Conan kind of wakes up and sees what's going on. We get some sexy time here, and Conan falls for this gal for the first time. We get a love interest. Very nicely done. And I start to care about all these characters here. Look at the ancients, the way they're designed. Just beautiful, beautiful art. It's so fast-paced. It's so awesome. Eventually, Conan leads a slave revolt, and a lot of people die, and Conan's kind of left on his own again, is what happens through this storyline. Beautiful stuff. Easy come, easy go with the traveling adventurer. The sword and sorcery trope. Yeah, you know, you get your adventure, you know, you get high stakes, and then you end up going away. Now, this lady here, she calls herself the Widowmaker, and she's a trained assassin. Very brutal backstory when you get into it. It is brutal, and really well done. And she's killing some people, but she's kind of in the background for now, and we don't see what happens. We get back into this like king storyline every few issues where this sage is telling the king about the past storylines. Now, this is where we get into the first filler issue. And I guess periodically, Carrie Nord needs to have a break or whatever is probably what goes on. And the filler issues, this one's done by Greg Ruth, and he has beautiful art himself. He did the coloring himself. I think this is equally as good as the Carrie Nord stuff. I actually really enjoyed it. Maybe the coloring's a little on the bland side, but it's done as like a flashback, so almost this coloring's done purposefully. But all these filler issues have young Conan, and they showed like the childhood of Conan and how he sort of like started to get on his path towards where he's at. And so as you read 2 or 3 of these, and there's a couple more throughout the course of this, you build this narrative of these filler stories together as their own book almost. It's really cool. And I guess they did do a paperback of young Conan by itself in the original trades. So neat stuff. Then we get back into this, and there's a prophecy that Conan's involved in, and he's beating up some guys in an inn. He big theme here where he hates townsfolk, and they always try to cheat him. Uh-oh. You know there's a problem when they send 2 pretty girls after you. And our Widowmaker's kind of sitting in the shadows, foreshadowing stuff that happens later on. So Conan does his deal. He does his different thieving. And he this one's a really ingenious plot where he sets up a city guard to be framed for some theft because he was being bad. And so Conan uses his wits. I like it. In this one, Conan is breaking into something to try to steal some goblet, and it turns out there's something amiss going on. And we have this like murder mystery. This is my least favorite storyline out of all of it. Not that it was bad. I actually enjoyed it. But there's a lot of talking. And I like action. I want more action in my Conan. So this one's actually pretty slow-paced compared to everything else. But there's this whole background where he's basically framed for something, a murder he didn't do, and then we try to figure it out, and it turns out like somebody unleashed this like snake god thing. So once it gets to the end, he fights this this crazy god. Beautiful art again, and beautiful stuff. Once we get here, it's cool, and he kills it, of course, because he's Conan. Conan wakes up in a cell, and he's been, you know, a little hungover. And he got hit over the head, it turns out. We'll find out later. And he ends up working for this priest, and here's our Widowmaker shows up and fights Conan to a standstill, which, you know, whatever. It's explained, at least. It's not your generic strong female lead, which kind of gets annoying in these tropes these days. At least she has a reasonable backstory where there's like actually a mystical reason for her being able to go toe-to-toe with Conan, which we find out. And then Conan joins her and this priest, who I guess she's working for this old lady who's like this weird, even weirder mystic, and told her to get Conan to go with him, and told her to watch over all this stuff. And this old priest is dealing with this other priest who's trying to make himself a god, and they've been going at it for hundreds of years, and they're chasing down Conan and his party. This is a really cool storyline. And they are trying to get this gem to its proper place to kind of stop things. But, oh no, the people of the city have all been kind of infected by his evil maggot spirits. They have to fight their way through it. And the 3 of them fight off the hordes. A lot of fun. Great storyline. Eventually, Conan wakes up after a tough fight where he got beat up pretty bad. And he goes off with the merchants from before. And this is another young Conan storyline. Beautiful stuff, again. And Conan fights off a pack of wolves by himself as a kid. Very nice. Gosh, these young Conan ones are almost better than the main story itself. They're so good. Yeah, I'd never say that about filler issues. It makes me so happy that they came up with an idea to use filler issues to make their own storyline. That is really compelling. Conan gets thieved, and he gets really mad at townsfolk at this point. So, after he woke up and everything was stolen by the people he was traveling with, he goes into this like haunted forest where they warn him not to go, and there's these demons there, and Conan deals with the demons because he's Conan. I'm gonna skip over one of these issues here because I think there's some nudity in it. They actually, most of it like is implied nudity, and they like kind of color over the nipple area with just more skin color. But one of these in the back here, I'm not even gonna turn to it because I'm not gonna risk it. For YouTube purposes. One of them in the back here actually has full nudity, so you should know that there is that involved. But the last couple issues, there's another past Conan issue where you kind of learn about his helm, and you kind of learn about his back. The helm actually has a great story by itself. So good. And Fabian Nicieza actually co-wrote that with Kurt Busiek, so that was very fun. And then a couple more adventures of him, you know, just being mad at townsfolk. And Finally, he goes to the city of thieves because he asks these people, like, where's the worst town ever? And he knows he's going to go wreck things. So super fun on that level. Dude, this is like a 9 out of 10. Like I said, I think the only issue was like that investigative plot kind of slowed down a little bit. It was a mystery plot. It was, like, as far as a mystery plot goes, it was well done. But a little slower than the rest of the book, so I will dock it 1 point. But 9 out of 10, I don't give a lot of books 9 out of 10. So you should know that this is really awesome. This is issues, I should say, number 0 and 1 through 19. I believe this went 50 issues, or maybe even a little more before they started renumbering it and all that. So I'm looking forward to volume 2. Hopefully Carrie Nord stays on because I love the art here. Just so good. High recommendation. If you love old pulp stuff, if you love just action adventure, this does it justice. There are a lot of extras in the back with like interviews about essays on Robert E. Howard. There's actually a story, I guess, which Carrie Nord and Kurt Busiek used as a tryout. And if you look at Carrie Nord's pencils here, oh my gosh, I would have loved to just have this. Very cool stuff. So definitely check out the extras in the back. Now, they're not always worth it in these volumes, but this one definitely is. All right, hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you guys for being there. Let me know if you've read this and what you think of Conan. I'll be back soon.